Happy holidays, Johnny Horrorheads. It's me, your old pal, Johnny Horror, here to introduce yet another episode of the Johnny Horror Podcast. This time around, we did things a little bit differently. Kalen and I got together to discuss 10 of our favorite comfort horror movies. During the holidays, things can get a little bit bleak. People get depressed, anxious, stressed out, and I think we could all agree that a little bit of comfort goes a long way. So, sit back, relax, pour yourself a glass of eggnog or a good old fashioned Jack Daniels on the rocks, light up a bowl, get some snacks, and enjoy this very lengthy and hopefully somewhat engaging discussion of some of the Johnny Horror Podcast's favorite scary movies. Welcome back to the Johnny Horror Podcast. I am your host, Johnny Horror, and tonight we have a very special episode. Joining me once again is I think it's safe to say you're fucking co-host at this point. Co-host of the Johnny Horror Podcast, Kalen Behrman. How are you, sir?
Good, brother.
Good, man. Happy to have you on. This is going to be hopefully the first of a number of these episodes. So I'm glad that you get to be my guinea pig for all intents and purposes. See how this goes. Kind of a different style of episode tonight, gang. Instead of discussing a film, we are discussing multiple films. We're talking about comfort horror tonight, and we have collectively 10 movies to discuss between Kalen and myself. We each have 5 movies that we find comforting in some way, shape, or form. And we will be discussing all of those things. Part of the reason that I wanted to do this episode is because November is a weird period of like, we just got out of Halloween. We're going into Christmas time, but we're not quite there yet. It's kind of, we live in Southern California where it's pretty much warm most of the year. And oddly enough, September and October are some of the hottest months where we live. So we had a pretty spicy Halloween. I think it was like 83 degrees or something like that at the hottest point during the day.
Yep.
Thankfully, it cooled off in the evening. But all that said, November's when it starts to get cold around here. And there's not a ton of Thanksgiving related horror content, though there is more than I think a lot of people realize. And I've made it a point myself to try and discuss some of those films over on the Johnny Horror Reviews. And this year we actually have a movie titled Thanksgiving, and it's about a slasher on Thanksgiving, directed by Eli Roth. As of this recording, it comes out tomorrow, and I'll be seeing it. So very excited about that.
You let me know how that goes.
Yeah, I will. I'll be posting a review. So, and that will probably be out. The review for that will be out before this episode will. So it's a little bit.
So the audience already knows if it's a good movie or not.
Yeah.
There you go.
But all of that said, November is like a weird time of like, I have a Halloween hangover. I'm a little bit depressed. I'm looking for comfort food. something to make me feel better about like my favorite time of the year is over, even though Christmas probably second favorite. Christmas time is the second favorite time of the year. So it's just this little weird gap of like trying to fight depression and oddly enough, I usually get sick right about this time, and I'm currently sick right now. So I apologize for any throat clearing. If you hear a rustling of cough drops being injected into my body, I apologize for that as well. A little bit nasally. All that taken into account, I want comfort during this time of the year, I think. And it's a very long tangent to explain why we're doing this episode. But, oddly enough, I feel like your average person wouldn't associate horror films with comfort. But particularly on my Instagram feed, there's just dozens and dozens of posts a day about like someone's favorite horror movie that makes them feel good, or something that they throw on before they go to sleep, helps them sleep. The internet defines comfort horror as a kind of mental training or exposure therapy for people who have various forms of stress or anxiety. Fans of horror seek out these stories to de-stress, to regulate their emotions, and even to meditate and sleep. So I think for a lot of the uninitiated, this is a weird concept, the idea of blood and guts and people being harmed. But for fans of the genre, it's, how we kind of manage like our everyday fears and things that are really scary, not like xenomorphs being,
right.
birthed out of your chest and giant man-eating sharks coming to get you, things that are like legitimately terrifying. So we seek out these things to make us forget the real life terrors. So with all of that said, there's not going to be any real format to this. Kalen and I are just going to do a tit for tat. He's going to talk about a movie. I'm going to talk about a movie. I don't think there's any real order, but we did both agree off mic to save our like ultimate comfort film for the last round. So without any further ado, I think we should just jump on into it, since I'm rambling like a motherfucker over here. Kalen, why don't you start out with one of your favorite comfort horror movies?
Absolutely. So, Johnny knows, maybe some of the audience has figured it out by now, but I really think that we're living in a pretty golden age of horror. And I think that we have gotten some really excellent, high level horror movies. I think we have some up and coming filmmakers who are really pushing hard, pushing boundaries, and putting in a lot of work into making really great horror movies. Not that hasn't happened in the past, obviously it has, but it's a really popular time for that right now. And my first movie on my list is a little flick called The Lighthouse. The Lighthouse, co-written by Robert Eggers, directed by Robert Eggers, and starring the great Willem Dafoe with Robert Pattinson. This movie was released in October of 2019. And it stars, it is the story of two lighthouse keepers on an island in isolation, sort of slowly going mad. Yeah, that's the pitch. That is the pitch. Johnny, you were a pretty big fan of this movie, right?
It was a movie that I like fell in love with as soon as I got past the aspect ratio. At first, I thought I had purchased something incorrect or that I
Mm-hmm.
fucked up. I had to go online, like pause and had to go online, make sure that this is the way it was supposed to be. Um, and then when I realized that that was like essentially the size of the the frame that would have
Mm-hmm.
been used at that time, I was like, oh god, that's some gimmicky shit right there for sure. But I'm here for it. Uh,
I mean, I'm so here for that. I loved that. I felt like I was watching something from 1922.
yeah,
Yeah.
I loved the movie. It was a movie that I watched the first time with my wife, and she looked at me about halfway through and was like, "This is definitely a you and Brian sort of movie." So probably about a week later, I had Brian over and we got really drunk and watched it. And it was even
Mm-hmm.
better the second time. And when I was going through making my list, it was one that popped out. Probably a good runner up. We'll make one of my comfort horror lists, sometime in the future, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can definitely see what you're getting at. But please elaborate.
So the movie is shot in an old school aspect ratio. It's shot in black and white, and it very much it looks like the 1922 Nosferatu kind of. Like it looks like you're watching a lost film from 1918 or something like that. And it is just it's an amazing movie. It's a beautiful movie. It's so well shot. It's so well blocked. It's so well performed
Yeah,
by these two fucking masters. And like Pattinson's still a young actor, but I already think he's kind of a master.
yeah,
And Defoe is like a straight up walks on water kind of actor to me.
yeah.
Like that man can do anything. He's a force of nature. He's a national treasure. Um, I think he's just a god on screen, and Pattinson keeps up with him. And it's a story that's difficult to describe because it is a lot of it's happening in subtext. A lot of it's happening between the lines. A lot of it's kind of like what's not being said. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, as the two men sort of very slowly, like it moves at a slow pace, but it does it very confidently. It's like you're gonna pay attention because this shit's interesting, but it moves at a slow pace and they very slowly descend into madness. And it's a movie about like power dynamics and sanity and guilt and um loneliness and horniness and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And uh it is kind of an out there movie. It's not for everybody,
Mm-mm.
but for the people who let it do what it's doing, for the people who buy in and they play the game that this movie is playing, I think those people love the movie, and I genuinely think it's like a 10 out of 10 type of movie, like a cinematic masterpiece of a film. One of my favorite movies of the last 10 years.
I agree with all of that. It's actually a movie I haven't watched in a minute, and I know I'm due for a rewatch. Um, but it like when I watched it, I couldn't stop thinking about it. And it's so well crafted, like you say. Everything Robert Edgars is his attention to detail is um,
Impeccable.
it's fucking mind boggling, is what it is, and he how that man works is just so intricate and detailed, and he's working on Kubrick levels of
Yep.
perfection. So it's really everything that you see from top to bottom in that film, with the exception of the performances, is just Edgar's like vision, his craft.
Mhm.
Obviously um, Pattinson and Defoe bring their A game,
Big
and
time.
you know they were like the levels of things that they did. Like I think Defoe pretty much kept to himself mostly, um,
Well,
and
they were saying at the end of each day shooting, everyone just really needed to go home
yeah,
because it
and
was just a hard shoot. So
yeah,
everyone just needed to go home and sleep because every day was like a very hard day.
and Pattinson was making himself throw up and shit like that before takes.
He was putting rocks into his shoes so
Uh-huh.
he'd be more uncomfortable.
Yeah,
There were scenes where they were making him lug drums up the stairs,
yeah,
and Eggers wanted him to be very, very tired, but he's in really good physical shape, so that wasn't making him tired. So Eggers was asking him to just pick the shit up and spin around in a circle with it until he was dizzy and exhausted and miserable, and then get the shot of him dragging it up the stairs. And Pattinson was like, "That's a good idea." That's the kind of guys you had making this movie.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
I love that.
yeah.
What about this movie do you find comforting?
Oh, the probably the aforementioned aspect ratio and the coloration.
Hmm.
But I don't know, man. The performances, the accents, the mood, the vibe. I
Yeah.
think I think with a lot of comfort horror movies, a lot of it is vibe.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I think there's this is something I talked about in my latest review of the 1981 horror classic Madman. Uh, that there's a really cool balance of like when you're indoors, it feels like cozy. Um, and there's like a warm fireplace, and they use like really warm lighting and everything. And when you're outside, you can just feel the chill in the air. Everyone's like bundled up, and there's always like a wind blowing, and just that dynamic of like it's cold, cool, and
Mhm.
crisp and scary outside, but like warm and cozy and safe inside. I think that in and of itself, if you can manage um that feeling in a film, that can bring comfort. Just the idea of like, oh, I'm cozy and safe indoors. And I think at particularly at the start of this film, you can kind of feel that. Eventually the madness, you know, makes its way inside as well. And, that their little shack and everything is destroyed and whatnot. But there is this sense of like it's windy, cold, and rainy outside, but in here we have this little lamp, and we have our booze that we're drinking, and we're eating lobster, and it's got this kind of cozy feel. And I like that time period a lot too, and the
Mhm.
idea of like old timey sailors is just
Mhm.
cool to me. Their whole vibe, their costumes and everything. It's a weird, to say how like a time period can be comforting, but I feel like at least for my part, when I think of that movie and how it could bring comfort to me, it's kind of in that vein. Um, uh, well, I guess I will follow it up with my first pick. It's a little film called Bubba Hotep. It is a mummy movie that stars Bruce Campbell as he is playing Elvis Presley in a nursing home.
Okay.
Um, and the story basically picks up with Elvis in a nursing home. Everyone thinks that he is an Elvis impersonator, but he explains through narration that he found the best Elvis impersonator out there and switched places with him so he could live a normal life. And the Elvis impersonator was the one who died.
Oh.
And he ended up in this nursing home. And eventually, this nursing home ends up having a mummy problem. And this mummy comes to life and is sustaining life by sucking the souls out of the elderly in the old
No.
folks home. And he sucks the souls through their buttholes. It's a really, really great horror comedy. Bruce Campbell as Elvis is honestly like, it might be better than him. Like, for me personally, it might be a better performance than him as Ash Williams. Like, he's a perfect Elvis, just like so good.
So you're like, hey, Austin Butler, get out of the way.
Yeah.
Bruce Campbell's got you beat.
He does. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He plays just, the character is so likable. You immediately, feel empathy for Elvis in this state that he's in. It's a very slow burn. There's not a lot of action in it, as you can imagine. It takes place in an old folks home, so but it's really freaking funny. It's this, I kind of stumbled into it being a comfort horror movie like last year, I think, when it was a movie that I started watching late one night, and I was just in our guest bedroom, which is like our horror bedroom where we have like all of our movies and merchandise and whatnot. And I just fell asleep watching it. And then over the course of like the next week and a half, would just kind of rewind it a bit to the last thing I remembered. And I would watch it for a little bit, fall asleep, and same thing every night until I finished it. And it just kind of really settled into like, oh man, this movie just makes me feel happy and comforted. And it also has like a really, really kick-ass score by Tyler Bates. Just like a beautiful like guitar. And I don't know, it's easy horror. There's like one kind of creepy scene where Bubba Hotep, like Elvis calls the mummy Bubba Hotep because Hotep is something like a prince or something like that, I think, in Egyptian times. And he just, his expression of Bubba, Elvis being a Southern boy and whatnot.
Sure. But, hey, Bubba.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's one scene where it's like a strobe light and you see him kind of like walking through the hallway, and hallway horror is always been creepy to me. A movie I'll talk about a little later has a very creepy hallway scene. And The Nun in The Conjuring 2, that hallway scene I know I've talked about before, about hallway horror has always been creepy to me. So anything having to do with hallways will get me. So that's the only like kind of creepy moment in the movie. The rest of it is just kind of like, silly kind of
so
fun.
It's not a super scary movie per se.
No, by no means. Like I said, there's a couple like mystery sort of like what's going on here things. And he has a friend who claims to be Jack Kennedy. Of course, he claims to be Jack Kennedy, but he's a African American, so that lends itself to all sorts of fun conversations.
Fun hijinks.
It's a really, really fun movie. I can't recommend it enough. Just if for nothing else to see Bruce Campbell as Elvis, it's just
sure
so much fun. directed by the guy who did the uh, Phantasm series. So
Okay.
it's definitely a wild one off the beaten path, but worth checking out for sure. Uh, what's next on your list?
My next movie is a little known and little talked about and hardly influential film called Halloween that was released in 1978 and is directed by John Carpenter with music by John Carpenter.
Wait, who's that guy, anyways?
He's some dude. He did a couple movies. They were okay.
I know. He really likes basketball, doesn't he?
Yeah, so if you ask him about movies now, he just says, I just want to play video games and watch basketball. Leave me the fuck alone. And I'm like, I feel that. I feel that energy in a big way.
You actually do.
I do.
That's
when he says that, I very strongly relate. I'm like, I get it, John Carpenter. I'm like, you know, live your best life, King. So Halloween is obviously a classic. It's super influential. It's a movie that everybody loves. And I'm not exactly being original here, but you know, when you asked me my comfort movies, I wasn't thinking. I was thinking, what horror movies do I put on frequently for comfort, right? Regardless of wherever they stand in the horror canon. And this is just a movie I watch a lot. This is just a movie I watch a lot. I watch it with my girlfriend a lot. She always wants to put it on. And it's just a movie we love to watch and we love to rewatch. It's funny actually. She this is a slight sidebar, but she watched that movie with me for the first time.
Oh wow.
And she didn't want to, but she didn't want to tell me that. She didn't want to be mean, so she watched it with me. But she had only seen Halloween 2000. What year was 07 that
Zombie?
Rob Zombie made his?
Yeah.
Okay. She had only seen Rob Zombie's Halloween. So she assumed that the whole franchise was shit and none of it was worth watching. So I told her I wanted to watch Halloween 1978 and she gave it a try like, oh God, this is going to be terrible. And then she saw for the first time Halloween 1978 and was like, oh shit. Like, that's a fucking banger. I know this was a movie that despite being the kind of slasher that's usually critically panned, had you know, Siskel and Ebert raving about it. You know what I mean? It was a very well-received, influential movie. Anyway, it's a simple story, obviously, about a crazy little boy who murders his sister, goes off to a mental health facility, escapes, goes back to his hometown nearby, and wreaks havoc on a group of teenage kids. It's the quintessential slasher movie. It's sort of, in a way, not really the original slasher horror movie. In many ways, it was the template for the slasher genre going forward. I know this is obviously a movie you love.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's I thought about it because it is I guess I should have done a little bit of more explaining as to what and how, like, maybe you and I define comfort horror movies.
Sure.
I think there are different ways a horror movie can be comforting. It can be like, hey, we just love watching this movie, like, and even if it's like it's scary, like it's actually a scary movie, but
Right.
we just love watching it. Or it can be like Bubba Hotep, where it's pretty fucking harmless and it's just something that, you know, brings you joy, genuine joy. So I think there are different ways to view horror, and I do find Halloween comforting in a sense. I only watch it once a year, and it's usually at the start of Halloween season. I I know a lot of people wait until like the end of Halloween season to watch it, but I'm like, dude, like I need that to be my jumping off point so I can watch all fucking 15 different directions that the timeline goes. Um,
Right. That's
uh,
right.
so in that regard, it is a movie I always look forward to watching. Of course, I fucking love, like, it's my favorite. It is my favorite horror franchise, the
Right.
Halloween franchise. I love it.
Mhm.
There's only one movie that I just fucking hate in that franchise, and it's Resurrection.
Okay.
But all the other ones, I can, even ones that are not good, I can find reasons to love them.
Mhm.
So it does hold a very, very special place in my heart. That being said, uh, it is scary to me
It's
still,
scary. It's a
and
scary movie.
in a
It's a
way that I'm
scary, like
like,
it's a scary movie. Yeah.
just that trek that Lori makes from um, uh, one house to the other, just, and the music's playing and the wind is blowing, like that to me is Halloween, and it's just creepy and scary, and it kind of like gives me this feeling of like terror.
Yeah.
Um, so for you, is it a movie that like you genuinely find comforting, or is it like, man, I just love having this on. I just like love hearing the music. I just love being in that world.
Well, that is what's comforting for me.
Yeah.
So like I don't really have cozy movies.
Okay.
I just have movies that make me feel good. Now, some movies are like there are movies that are like very challenging that I may like, but are too challenging to be like comforting movies. So like I'm trying to think of a good example. I don't know. I'm not putting on Killers of the Flower Moon for comfort. You know what I mean?
Was it good? I haven't seen it yet.
It's yeah, man, it's really good. You know, it's Martin Scorsese telling a really interesting and sad true story.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very good picture, but it's not something I would ever watch to feel better about anything, you know?
Uh,
Some movies like that.
like, my example of that would be The Exorcist. Like, I,
Okay.
The Exorcist. It's one of my all-time favorite horror films, but it's not. It's not a movie I watch lightly. It's not like,
Exactly.
oh, I'm gonna throw this on in the background and it's just
Exactly.
gonna play. Like, no, I'm invested, and I got to be in the right mood to to do that dance.
100%. So for Halloween, while I agree that it's a scary movie, I don't need to be in that place. I could just put that on it and be happy there. And it is kind of a happy place for me. Michael Myers is 100% a happy place villain for me. Like there's something about watching, like I told you, like when we did our conversation about Halloween Kills, I remember saying like a movie that just involves Michael Myers walking around to that music, like
Yeah.
that alone kind of gets me. That kind of just brings me happiness on its own. Um, and you know, this is just it's one of those movies where you can watch it at a distance, you can watch it in the background and
Yeah.
enjoy the vibe,
Yeah.
or you can watch it a little bit closer and appreciate the craftsmanship. And I think either way, it's something that you should come away happy from. You know what I mean? Something you should come away and go, you know, that was really good and really satisfying as a movie.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. It's like for me, because it is essentially an annual watch. Like I just watch it, really just watch it the one time a year. It's kind of falls into the Jaws category of like,
Cool.
we have a specific time we watch this movie because I'm fucking OCD and weird.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
When is it that you watch Jaws? Just
Jaws, I
curious.
typically watch on its anniversary or somewhere in that ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
Though a lot of people do the Fourth of July watch because it takes place over Fourth of July weekend.
Yeah.
But I usually celebrate the anniversary because the day Jaws was released is more important to me than Independence Day. What can I say?
That's right.
Um, but like, that franchise as a whole brings me comfort. I agree. I love being in that world. It is like, I love being in that world during Halloween time. It doesn't quite feel the doesn't give me the same feels and vibes if I were to watch it outside of like my house being decorated and like pumpkin candles being lit and shit like that. So I totally see where you're coming from. We're we're going the same direction. We're just in different cars. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Well, I feel like this is a good seg into our next into my next pick here, because this film is very much paying homage to all the slashers that came before it. Scream.
Yep, that's right.
This is I had another movie on here, and I like had a revelation last night of like, why is Scream not on my list? Because it is one of my all-time like comfort horror movies. It's one of the horror movies that I probably watched more than most others. Like I just watch it all the time. Basically same sort of setup. Like a killer starts hacking teenagers in a small town, and unlike all the slashers that came before it, though, the kids in this movie are aware of all the movie tropes.
Yeah.
And that's what makes Scream so much fun, is that they're making references to other films. They're smart about, hey, don't go, don't say hello, when you hear strange noise, don't go open the door,
Don't say I'll be right back.
Don't say I'll be right back.
Because you won't be back.
Because you won't be. And it's very smart in how it subverts the horror tropes and how it plays into the horror tropes. And it's very funny. And this was one of the first horror movies I saw, probably like in like my first like 5 to 10.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, I got Scream 1 and 2 from the video store. The third one had been rented out, so I was very upset about that I couldn't do all three in one go. I would later find out that was probably a blessing in disguise. But the movie I grabbed instead of Scream 3 was Halloween. So I watched Halloween for the first time, and Scream 2 all within like the same weekend. So it was
Nice.
a very educational period of time for me.
Yeah.
What I don't know, like what I can say. Just like everything from this movie, top to bottom, is awesome. It's scary, but not scary. Like the opening scene is legitimately scary, but it's got such great characters. There's always something new whenever I watch it. There's just always some reference. I'm like, oh, dude, I have never gotten that one before, and it's only through like living life and watching movies and like understanding more pop culture that I get that reference now. It's just so funny and fun in ways that like a lot of horror movies, particularly a lot of slashers, are not. Because a lot of slashers, you just like, dude, just kill all these motherfuckers already.
Yep.
And in Scream, you don't want anyone to die, and you don't want anyone to be the killer, because you're like, oh god, I really like that person, and now they're the bad guy.
Yeah, it's a good satire, and it's a good mystery.
God.
It does both those things super well.
What was it like the first time you saw Scream? Did you just
what year did Scream come out?
Came out in 96.
Okay, so that's how old I was.
You were 6?
I went and saw Scream in theaters. I wasn't 6. Yeah.
You would have been you would have been like 8?
Yeah, like 8. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So I was like 8 years old when Scream came out. So I was not old enough to be watching it. And and I mean, I thought it was cool. I thought it was kind of too scary. I liked it. Like how, forever, for whatever I understood as a kid, I liked it.
Yeah.
I will say that it's a movie that as I grew up, I liked it more. As I understood not just horror better, like what horror it's sort of referencing and satirizing, but also as I just understood like film better. It's a movie that I liked more and more. And this was another one that I watched for the first time with my girlfriend, and I hadn't seen it in quite some time. And I was really happy with, seeing it for the first time in a long time. I was like, oh yeah, that's a classic. And yeah, she liked it a lot. I think it's got a great, like, there's almost like a little bit of a noir thing going on
Yeah,
with the mystery.
absolutely.
And then there's a fun sort of pastiche of the former, a very self-aware pastiche of the former slasher films before it. And it's kind of doing both those things at the same time, and it makes for a very fun, unique little movie.
A unique little movie that has quite the healthy IP these days as
Yeah.
well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I feel like even people who don't like horror movies like Scream or they like Ghostface. I see you see Ghostface merchandise all over the place, dude.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I just remember being like loving that Billy Loomis was the killer and also like being heartbroken because I was like, oh man, he was so cool. Of course he's insane. And then the fact that there are two killers, like that was just again, I hadn't had much of a horror education, so I don't think I was aware of really how cool that was, but it was still really cool to me um when when that reveal happens. But yeah, this is just a movie that I kind of along the same lines as like Halloween for you. Like it's if it's on, I'll sit down and watch it, or if I haven't watched it in like 6 months, I'll be like, wow, I haven't watched Scream in a minute. Let's throw that on. Let's do a Scream. Let's do a Scream marathon. It's particularly those first two films that's just a world I would love to be a part of, and hopefully not die.
Right.
Uh,
I hate saying this, buddy, but either we'd be the killer or we'd be dead. You don't
yeah,
need both.
yeah, and yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think, yeah, none of the killers survive any of the movies. They all die.
Mm-hmm.
Too bad.
Yep.
Uh, what's next on your list, there, pal?
All right. I got a weird one.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not a movie that most people would consider a comforting movie at all, but the original Candyman.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah, no, that movie is fucking terrifying.
It's
Actually,
fucked up and scary.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's really depressing
With
too.
like very, very tough, like and honest social commentary,
Yes.
and and it's gruesome, and yeah, like you said, depressing. Um I don't know how to explain it. When Candyman came out, I was too little to watch it,
Yeah.
and I remember being fucking terrified of the trailers on TV. Like they would just play, like the TV spot, like 30-second trailers. The Candyman trailers scared the piss out of me when I was a little boy. And and geez. And so yeah, when I watched it as an adult, I loved it because it's whip smart. Like it's smart as hell. It's self-aware. It's so interesting. It's such an anomaly of its time because it's this very intelligent, very political movie that is it's talking about society in a way that you hear people talk about society now, but you didn't really hear people talking about society that way in 1993.
Yeah.
You didn't see there wasn't a lot of love and empathy in America for poor black people at that time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There wasn't. There was a lot of villainization and there was a lot of venom spewed their way. Like Reagan built a, not to get political here, guys, I'm sorry, but built an entire, political identity on the demonization of the welfare queen, right? And so this movie takes you through the lens of a wealthy white woman into the home of the struggling Black American with sincerity and earnestness, and it does that in a fucking terrifying slasher movie.
Yeah.
And you're like, what are you doing? And everything about this says, okay, well, that doesn't sound like a comfort movie, Kalen. But I don't know, man. For me, it really is. For me, like I love that. Like that's a movie. Is there a movie that like every time you watch it, it surprises you?
I mean,
Like every time you watch it, you like there's things that you forgot about and things that just make you happier than you expected. And like every time you come away from that movie with a smile.
I mean, there definitely is. I can't, pinpoint it right now because my
Right.
thick ass brain isn't
Sure
working properly. But yeah, I know.
But you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
That's Candyman for me. Like every time I watch Candyman, I'm surprised by how much I like Candyman. And there's something about Tony Todd's voice and the music in that movie that has that Halloween effect,
Yeah.
Ugh, man.
Yeah, the score by Philip Glass is one of the most haunting yet like beautiful and soothing horror scores. We always like Celeste has a version of it as an alarm. I have a version. I think it was the version from the reboot or the
2021
that I actually thought was pretty fucking excellent as well.
I like that too.
Mm-hmm. But the music in that film is
it's fantastic.
Just honestly, like Candyman is an incredible movie. That score it just doesn't seem like it should be in that movie just because it has just such an elegance and a beauty to it, but it's perfect for it.
Right. Exactly.
For it.
Exactly. That's it.
And Tony Todd is so scary, and just his presence is so intimidating. And this kind of goes back to what I was talking about with hallway horror. His introduction in the parking structure where you just see him far away just gives me the chills right now thinking about it. It is a very, very scary movie. I have no idea how it brings you comfort in any way, shape, or form.
I don't know, bro. It just that movie makes me happy.
Yeah, dude, this like every time he shows up, like, and there's nothing inherently like scary about the man.
I know.
It's all like his presence is it's how it's filmed and everything too. Just like the scene where he kills her best friend in the apartment is scary as hell. When he shows up and kills the psychiatrist in the office and then like fucking launches out the window.
Yes.
It's just like scary fucking shit that like you don't really see in like any other horror movie.
You didn't see it then and you don't see it now.
Yeah. It's a very, very original. I mean, it's Clive Barker. It's his story, and Clive Barker, as our man Stephen King once said, is the future of horror. So, yeah, I love Candyman, and it's a terribly scary movie. So I admire. I get it though. Like there's no there doesn't need to be a justification. There doesn't need to be really an explanation beyond the fact that like you just love the movie, right? And
Yep.
probably it the idea of it scaring you as a kid actually probably plays a big factor in that because you own it now. It's
Yep.
something that's personal to you
Mm-hmm.
and your life experience. So that's actually really cool. Um, well, my next one is a fucking joke compared to yours, but it's one of my
Wait,
all.
I just real quickly, I want to tell you, I told Sandy this was gonna happen. I was gonna be going like Halloween and Candyman, and you'd be like Bruce Campbell movie where a ghost sucks old people's life force out of their buttholes. It's perfect.
Well, I got
It's good
something for you, buddy,
juxtaposition. I like
because
it.
my next one is another Bruce Campbell movie. Army of Darkness,
Yes.
which is probably, yeah, no, it's my favorite horror comedy of all time. Like,
Wow. Okay.
I just love it so much. Um, and watched it, like, would fall asleep to it religiously for months on end. Um, God, it's just so good. So for those who you don't know, Ash goes up to a cabin in the woods with his friends. All of his friends get possessed by evil demons when he fucks around with a book. And that book eventually sends him back in time to the Dark Ages, and he has to fight the evil dead in medieval times. And for a franchise that started out as just pure terror, the original Evil Dead, um, which was a contender for my comfort horror list. But
The first one.
yeah, the original,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I threw that on this year at Halloween time, and I was again like so in the just that world, and I've just, for as creepy as that movie is, I was oddly comforted by it. But
Yeah. That movie's fucking scary.
uh
That's a fucking scary movie. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
But Army of Darkness had to win out, and I couldn't have three Bruce Campbell movies on my list. I just wasn't going to let it happen.
That's right.
It was close though. But yeah, for a franchise that started out as scary as it is, for by the time we get to the third film, and it is just fucking slapstick comedy from start to finish. I constantly laugh. There's a scene where has to pick between three different Necronomicons, and only one of them is the right Necronomicon, and he has to say the appropriate words to pick up the book, and he does all of them up until the last word, and he can't get the last word right, and then he just kind of like flubs it like under his breath and takes the book, and of course everything goes to shit. Skeletons start popping up out of the ground, and there's this just absolutely hilarious scene that ensues where you just see skeleton hands like punching him in the face and shit like that. He's trying to like block him and dodge him, and he does this, and like it stops right here, and then it comes at him again, and he does it again, but this time it's two different fingers, and it gets him in the eyes. And, oh god! And then there's my probably my favorite shot in the whole movie is you see him get this terrified look at his face. He goes, "Oh!" And then all these skeletons punch him all at once. It's so good. It's so funny. Um, I I don't know if anybody's listening to this podcast and you haven't seen Army of Darkness, like,
Yeah.
stop what you're doing right now and go.
Do yourself a favor.
It's just so much fun. Um, and there's some good like stuff that plays into the original with the Deadites and everything. They're all pretty hokey and over the top, but it's such a blast, and Bruce Campbell is in prime Ash Williams mode. Like, it's the best version of Ash, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, it's like fucking an hour and 20 minutes long.
Yep.
It is
Yep.
the easiest watch. It's
Yep.
so easy. Yeah, just ultimate, like, so much comfort. Because I can still be like, hey, I'm watching this horror movie that just I laugh my ass off the entire time. And it is a horror movie because there is like a fucking geyser of blood that shoots up at some point, and there's fucking skeletons walking around, and there's like old hags and flying demons and shit. So I mean, it is a proper horror picture in
Yeah.
its own way.
Well,
So
it's so wild how that trilogy like if you didn't watch the middle movie and you just watched the
yeah.
first one and the last one, you'd be like, what the fuck? Because it shifts so far from 1 to 3, you know.
So I don't remember how I figured it out, but I know I've told this story before about how I used to, like, when I was a teenager, I would like go with my mom to like Walmart, and she would go off to do her shopping, and I would either end up in the magazine section checking out Maxim, or I would end up in the movie section looking at uh, the horror movie boxes. And one of the ones that scared the piss out of me for weeks was the Evil Dead box, and that was just a box. You
Yeah.
see like fucking Cheryl like popping out from underneath the cellar, and just that image alone just scared the hell out of me. But somehow I had not seen the movie. I had not seen Evil Dead, but somehow I was over at a buddy's house, and Army of Darkness was playing.
Yeah.
And I didn't really watch it. I just kind of like tuned in here and there, but like I could tell that it was cheesy.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow I found out that it was in the same collection of movies as Evil Dead.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't understand, because that other movie looked scary as hell, and this is really cheesy. I don't get how they're connected.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you don't watch Evil Dead 2 and see what is a very good blend of the two to
Right.
get from point A to point B,
Right.
it's it's a hard turn for sure.
It's quite a turn. Yeah. So that was my first one of the trilogy too.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because I watched it. It was on TV when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I just like randomly watched it on TV one day with no context.
Yeah, that how was that? Like, is it just was it just as much fun, or were you kind of pulled out of it? Like,
No,
not
I liked it a lot. I had fun with the whole thing. So, you got to keep in mind, I was probably like 10, 11 years old. And this movie comes on TV, and, it's just Bruce Campbell, and he's holding a shotgun, and there's knights and people surrounding him. And he's like, listen, I don't belong here. And I was just like, oh, okay. Yeah. Like, I'm interested in this.
Yeah.
And, yeah, no, it totally had my attention, and I enjoyed it. Yeah.
This is my boomstick.
This is my boomstick. That's right. Groovy.
Groovy. Yeah, what's your next one then?
Well, my next one was a contender for my top spot, and is really, really up there in my comfort movies period. And my favorite movies period, and that is 1982 Poltergeist, a Tobe Hooper film, written and produced and co-directed by Spielberg. Yeah. This movie is one of my ultimate comfort movies period. It's one of my ultimate horror movies period, and it's one of my best like movies period. I love this flick. it's one of those movies that has so much going for it. It's hard to even talk about why I like it, because it's like, what, there's a million things happening and pick one that you don't like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just an amazing cast, brilliant performances. I think one of the first things that stands out to me is the couple um in the movie and their chemistry and how they seem like a real life married couple.
Yeah.
Their kids who are just done like so well, and like everything about the cast is perfect. The VFX and lack thereof are amazing. It's scary. The script is just, the story is just, it's brilliant, you know.
Yeah.
It it's also like, it's almost the only, not quite the only, but it's almost the only, like, during that period of sort of Spielbergian magic where
Yeah.
we had like everything from Close Encounters of it's very much the Spielberg of Close Encounters and the Spielberg of ET doing horror.
Yeah. It's
And
it's an Amblin, you know.
it's,
It's Amblin,
yeah,
you know.
it's Amblin doing horror for real,
Yeah.
and not like doing it halfway or doing it cute. It's an Amblin movie really doing horror. And I think it's just such a special juxtaposition. And because there's scenes in that movie too that you might think that like something very hopeful is happening. Like, dude, the scene where the little girl slides across the floor,
Yeah.
that's fucking incredible. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, and you could see a scene like that in a much more hopeful Spielberg movie
Yeah.
or
Absolutely.
Amblin movie. But here they put that in this, what turns out to be a really terrifying tale. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And God, man, it's yeah, man, it's such a scary movie. It's such a dope movie. Um, I think it is head and shoulders above a lot of what was happening at that time, and I think it's head and shoulders above a lot of what's happening now. You know,
Oh yeah.
just a real special kind of movie to me.
Yeah, I there's a lot to, I don't know, to find comforting in that movie, even with all the absolutely terrifying shit going on.
Yeah.
Um, the family dynamic is one of like genuine like love.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just a perfect uh unit, and it's like all the more sad by all the tragedy surrounding that
Right.
that film and that cast. Um, but
Oh yeah.
uh, the Spielbergian quality to it, just like making suburbia look ideal,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and beautiful and fun, and kids riding around on their bikes. There's like I'm like this far removed from that. Like had I been born like 10 years earlier, like I would have been privy to that sort of life. Like the same thing with you. Like
Mm-hmm.
I maybe you got a little bit of that. I don't know, but by the
Mm-hmm.
time like I was riding my bikes and stuff like that, it was like you had to be home before it was dark
Oh
outside.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, you couldn't
Mm-hmm.
stray too far away from home because all that shit was,
Mm-hmm.
it was not safe anymore. If it ever was safe, you know,
Right.
that sort of thing. But there is like a peaceful, like comforting vibe that those Spielberg movies have from that time period for
Yeah.
sure. Um, Obviously, you mentioned ET, and ET, I feel like is the flip side of the coin.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where Poltergeist, you know, while it does have a happy ending, um, is very very dark movie, and E.T. is a very similar sort of setup and vibe,
Mm-hmm.
just a lot happier, and a lot more fun in a different way, you know, a lot more lighthearted fun as opposed to like, some fucking monsters and shit.
Mm-hmm.
The face peeling scene is just
Dude,
absolutely
it's terrifying. It's
so
terrifying. Like watching that when you're like, dude, and you got to keep in mind, I was watching that movie and I was like 8 years old.
damn. How did the clown scene scare you
Hell
too?
yeah. Hell yeah. Dude, okay. You have to understand that, man, that like that was amongst parents like, you know, like not like yours. Um, that was seen as like kid friendly horror at that time.
PG. It was
It was a
PG.
PG movie, exactly. So like I watched that, I was like 8. That movie's scary as fuck.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like there's the tree eating like the kid scene
yeah.
fucked me up, dude. The clown, the skeletons, the face melting. I mean, all of that got me big time.
Did you have to like go sleep in your parents' room or any of that shit?
I mean, yeah. Also, I think I was afraid of static TV for a little while.
I'm still afraid of static TV, man.
There you go. There you go, man. So it did its job.
Oh,
I also think like I think that the husband and wife in that movie have like that's some of the best on screen married couple chemistry I've ever seen in any film ever. And just like I think that's like a noteworthy aspect of the film. And it's funny you mentioned E.T. I believe that E.T. and Poltergeist both spun out of the same original concept.
yeah.
Like Spielberg came up with a treatment. I think he called it like Dark Skies or something like that.
Yeah.
And then it eventually that turned into both E.T. and Poltergeist.
Yeah, it's roughly something along those lines because originally Poltergeist was an alien sort of movie that eventually became a haunted house movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there is like there's even like sketches and stuff like that for the original like alien designs that I I might be misconstruing this, but I think would later be developed into what um I think what the original Predator design looked like,
That wasn't used.
the one that wasn't used that what's his name was suited up in. Why can't I think of his name?
Who in the
Fuck.
original Predator?
Jean.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
Oh, like the original suit he was gonna wear that they ended up axing and going with our classic Predator look, right?
so yeah, sorry, that's a very long-winded way of saying that I think that design that they had
Uh-huh.
for what was the original concept for Poltergeist and everything, that alien design ended up being used for
For Predator.
Predator and then eventually scrapped. I think. Don't
Hollywood used to be so cool.
don't.
That's cool.
There's I mean, yes and no. I think there's a lot more shady shit being done that we just don't know about because people could get away with shit back then.
I mean, of course.
Um, Speaking of, that's actually a really good segue to my next one, which is
Oh God.
director that may have taken things to the extreme on this particular set. This particular set in particular, 1980s, The Shining.
Woo! I
Um,
wasn't sure if you're going The Shining or The Birds there.
yeah, The Birds is that's a whole other ball of wax.
Yep.
I find no comfort in The Birds. The Birds is apocalyptic. That's not that has no comfort for me.
Fair.
The Shining, however, just oozes aesthetic from start to finish. man takes his family to look after a hotel during the hotel's off season. Hotel just happens to be built on an Indian burial ground, and he slowly but surely succumbs to what the old timers used to call cabin fever, and starts to lose his mind, and the ghosts and evil spirits there convince him to try and murder his family. Um, I don't think there's a whole lot to be said about The Shining, at least for my part, that has not already been said by 1,000 different people. I can just say that I just rewatched it 2 or 3 nights ago now, and it was one of the very first films I thought about when putting together this list. It just kind of popped in my brain. I find The Shining to be an incredibly scary and unsettling film from start to finish. So it does kind of fall in that same vein as I would say Evil Dead does for me, where it's uh and another film that I will talk about later as far as like maybe some honorable mentions that we can get to, but um while it's very scary, there's a weird I get a weird sense of comfort from The Shining. Again, maybe there's a cozy aspect to the Overlook Hotel. I don't know,
I
but
think I think the Overlook Hotel minus the evil spirits would be pretty cozy.
yeah,
Yeah,
um,
I'd like it there.
their like little apartment thing there, like always like looks super cozy to me. I fucking love the idea, and this does not look good because my name is Johnny. I have a wife and a
You have a
son,
wife and a young boy.
and the idea of like being locked away in a hotel writing for like 6 months sounds terribly appealing to me.
Dude,
So,
I couldn't agree more. Dude, peace and quiet, right?
yeah,
And all the time of the day,
yeah,
R&R, and just working on your stuff. Yeah.
yeah. It sounds super duper rad to me.
Yeah, I fully
Uh,
agree.
so, but at the same token, like I also like get the cabin fever aspect. I think I might be able to do like that would be fun for like probably like a month tops,
Sure.
but 6 months is pushing it. But in the film, he loses his mind. It seems like he loses his mind a lot quicker than like even the month mark. But
Well, evil spirits will
obviously,
do that to you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, have you read the book?
Mm-hmm.
Which do you prefer?
The book.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard both. You know, I've not read the book. I kind of want to. I know it's not as big as it, but I know it's
Yeah.
anytime you open up a Stephen King book, it's usually a
It's an undertaking.
yeah, for sure. Unless it's like
Um,
Harry, that shit was pretty quick.
right. I'll give this one anecdote regarding the book. I've had conversations with people who had, you know, done both and said, oh well, you know, I regard Stanley Kubrick much more highly than I regard Stephen King. And then I'll be like, okay, well, what's better than the movie or the book? And they'll be like, um, they're not sure. So anyway, I think it's a book everyone should read.
I will. I'll make a point then. I
I
gotta.
don't, but on that same token, though, dude, like when a filmmaker like Stanley Kubrick is making a movie, you kind of want to let him do the movie that he feels like doing. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
And like I said, this is nothing new. The issues that the two of them had, particularly Stephen King, in regard to the story that Kubrick wanted to tell. But
Mm-hmm.
quite frankly, the story that Kubrick told with
Right.
the bare bones of Stephen King's novel and an absolutely flawless performance by Jack Nicholson.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and Shelley Duvall is equally as impressive. It is unfortunate all the things that she had
Yes.
to endure.
Yeah.
But God, it's just The Shining is one of those movies again that a lot of times we don't really have the actual like TV on anymore because we're always streaming stuff, but we still have like direct TV. We need to cancel that shit. We never watch it.
Right.
But back in the day before, you know, back when it was like mostly just like Netflix, you had Netflix and then you had, direct TV before streaming was what it is today. And this is only like, I don't know, I'd say like 6 or 7 years ago.
Yep.
The Shining was always on. The Shining would always be on some sort of television thing, some way, shape, or form, and I would always throw it on. It's just like, oh, dude, The Shining's on. Didn't care what point of the film it was on. It was gonna be on, and I was gonna watch it, or it was gonna be a background watch, and I was gonna tune in just because I love. Like I said, very aesthetically pleasing to me. I could quote the shit out of that movie.
Yeah.
And it might fall into that thing that you were talking about before where like I've watched The Shining a lot. I've watched it quite a bit, but I also it always feels at a distance to me. Maybe it's because I haven't read the book. Like I feel like there's some gap between me and that film in a way that like a lot of these other films like feel very, very personal to me. But The Shining I always feel like is always kind of at arm's length, and I can't really explain it. Like I don't know, man. It's just a movie that I'm just so fascinated by, and yeah, like I would say it's a movie that I could easily like. I almost threw it on a couple of nights ago when I was getting ready to go to sleep, and the only thing that really fucking stopped me was I was like, dude, I guarantee that my dumbass will wake up exactly when the old woman is coming out of the bathtub. Like I guarantee it, and then I'll be like, you know what? Fuck this shit. Like that would be my luck. So that was the only thing. I was like, otherwise, like I feel like that's a movie I could easily like fall asleep to. It's very aesthetically pleasing to me. So
I think that one I think most of the audience is gonna pass on falling asleep to that one, but it is certainly a beautiful, aesthetically beautiful movie. Yeah, craftsmanship on hand. Kubrick was something with a camera.
Yeah, he was built differently,
Yep. Built different.
But another fun little thing about The Shining is that the song that plays, the old timey one, something me, you and the stars, or you, me and the stars, something like that. That's the song that my wife and I had our first dance to when we got married. So that anytime The Shining is on and that song pops on, just like the other night when my wife was in the kitchen, she always gives me a look and a smile, and that's so personal in a whole other regard. But
I like it.
I digress. Why don't you go ahead and tell me what your all-time favorite comfort horror movie is?
I have a very brief aside about The Shining.
Oh, please.
A mutual friend of ours had not seen Stranger Things, and I texted him and I said, "Hey, you got to watch Stranger Things." This is back when it came out, and he said, "Okay, for sure, I'll let you know." And then he texts me back like 20 minutes later and says, "Well, they cast Shelley Duvall to play a 10-year-old boy, so that's brave." Referring to Finn Wolfhard. looking like Shelley Duvall in the first season of Stranger Things.
Not
And
wrong.
huh?
Said not wrong.
It's 7 years later, and I haven't stopped laughing. So what can I say? I think you know which friend I'm talking about.
I think so.
Yeah. Anyway, so my number one favorite comfort horror movie is also my favorite all-time horror comedy. It is an underrated movie in my opinion. I think people in the horror community appreciate it. I think people in the horror community like it. I think the general film community and certainly the general audience has completely forgotten about it, and I think it deserves more love. And that is 2012 Drew Goddard's Cabin in the Woods. Written and co-written and produced by Joss Whedon, and co-written and directed by Drew Goddard. It is a horror comedy that is a love letter to the Cabin in the Woods horror film and also the entire genre of horror all at once. And it is a funny movie. It's a smart movie. It's a scary movie. It's an exciting movie. Yeah, I think this movie's fucking awesome. I think it's super underrated. I think the only actor in the movie that anyone has heard of would be Chris Hemsworth, probably.
Wait, who is he?
He's he played this weird Viking character in a movie. It's funny. He looks kind of like you.
Once or twice. I wish I could be so lucky.
Yeah, well, I've probably told you. I think his comedic acting style reminds me a little bit of yours. Have I told you that?
No.
I think you guys have a similar sort of comedic style in your acting.
Hey.
Anyway, Chris Hemsworth at the time this came out. Oh, I'm sorry. This movie came out in 2011, and he was nobody. Yeah. He was nobody yet. He had not made his name in the movie industry yet, so he wasn't an A-lister. None of the other actors in the movie are A-listers. You could argue some of them didn't even make it as actors, unfortunately. So yeah, it's a really kind of under the radar movie, but it's very much a pastiche of all of horror. You're on board with this, right? You know what I'm talking about. You've seen this movie.
I love Cabin in the Woods. Okay. I in my mind, probably because I'm so ingrained in the horror world, excuse me, that I'm like, what do you mean? Like the world's forgotten about this. I could never forget about this movie. Right. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm like, one little guy in a whole sea. Right. But at the same token, now that I think about it, even it doesn't it's not a movie that I see talked about a lot, just in general. Every now and then it pops up, but it's also it did not. The thing with Cabin in the Woods that you have to understand is that it is a self-contained movie based off of how the film ends. There's no real way for there to be a franchise from that movie.
Hey, they talked about it, so
I know
they've kicked it around. So
there was discussions, but just as for what it is now, it doesn't so much of today's movies and today's horror and blockbusters are all based around IP. So that's one of the reasons why it does feel like it probably got lost in the wind. But it's like Scream. It's pointing at the horror genre going, we see you. And, we're going to turn all of these things on top of their head. And it's so fucking cool. When my wife and I went and saw it, we were just floored, by this movie. Because first half of the movie, everyone was raving about it. And the first half of the movie, you're like, all right, cool. It's fun. It's funny. It's all this going on. and then you get to the last 25% of the picture, and you're like,
holy
fuck,
shit.
this is the shit.
Yep.
I can completely see like this being a comfort horror movie because it has like legitimate horror in it, but it's
Yep.
also really fun and funny in
Mm-hmm.
all these super great ways, but is just so, it does not play it safe with its characters whatsoever. Everyone is dispensable,
Yep.
you know, and has one of my favorite fucking lines of all time in a movie. Uh, um, I can't think of the actor's name right now, and it fucking pisses me off because I love him in everything that he is in, and I know his name, and my brain is just so fucking foggy. I know his partner's Richard Jenkins. I can't think his fucking name right now, and it's gonna bother me. But when they bring in the tequila, and he's in the middle of like saying something, he's like, "Tequila is my
No,
lady,
no, no. Hold on.
lady."
Hold on. No, okay. Yes. One of the greatest lines in the history of film, but check it out. Because the best part is that what he's saying up into that moment is so sincere and emotional. There is a character who is in danger of dying and is really about to die. And he sits there and he very calmly and very sincerely, he goes, man, I almost want her to win. Just look at her. Look at the bravery. Look at the fierceness, the humanity in this girl. She doesn't give up. She does. Tequila is my lady. Like he cuts like immediately from like this perfectly like dramatic moment where he's like being so serious and sincere. Immediately, tequila is my lady, my lady.
Just my favorite part of the movie, and
It's beautiful. And
I
also, I love that guy too. And I actually, after thinking about saying Chris Hemsworth was the only actor in this movie, it got me thinking I was being disrespectful to him and to Sigourney Weaver, who are both in this movie.
Bradley Whitford.
There you go.
Whitford. There we go.
Yeah, he definitely is a big part of that movie.
Well, him and Richard Jenkins,
Yeah.
his partner in crime, Richard Jenkins, is fucking nominated for an Academy Award. Richard Jenkins is great. In
Right.
like, have you seen Bone Tomahawk by any chance?
Oh yeah.
The movie, yeah, he's in Bone Tomahawk. Fucking,
That movie is all fucked up.
dude, we're gonna have to talk about that movie one day. I fucking love Bone Tomahawk. But yeah, dude, great pick, great movie.
Yeah.
Is that one that you rewatch often, or is it? Is it? 'Cause I honestly haven't rewatched it in a minute.
Yeah, I watch it pretty often.
Yeah.
Yeah, like probably like at least once a year. But I mean, that's a movie I'll watch any day.
Yeah.
Like if you ever hit me up and you were like, "Hey, dude, you want to come over and watch Cabin in the Woods?" I'd be like, "Yes."
Hey, dude.
There's also what's that?
I said, "Hey, dude, you want to come over and watch Cabin in the Woods?"
Yes. So there's also one other aspect of this movie that I find interesting that some of the audience may not find as interesting, but maybe they will. You know, I'm a pretty big fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yes.
Which was a horror TV show that was really big in the 90s and early 2000s. It's a great show if you guys haven't seen it. It's incredibly well written, classic show. Anyway, so the director of this film was a writer on the later seasons of that show. And the co-writer and producer of this film was the creator and showrunner of that show. And this movie, if you have not seen Buffy the Vampire Slayer, if those guys said, hey, by the way, that whole movie is canon to Buffy, it would fit. It would make sense. Like if they just said the words like, hey, that's actually canon, that would work. So if you're a fan of that show, that makes this movie kind of even more special because you can kind of headcanon it as a side adventure happening in sort of in that universe, in that world.
Well, I hate to break it to Buffy, but their whole planet's going to be destroyed by like giant, angry, evil demon gods.
This is part of why I was telling you. This is part of why I was telling you to chill. Is something that you learn in Buffy is that about every 6 months there's an apocalypse, and someone finds a way to stop it. So
Yeah, actually, I just watched Honest trailer for Buffy the Vampire Slayer,
okay,
and that was one of the things that they talked about. Is how
yep,
like every season someone's trying to open up a portal to destroy the world, and they got to stop
yep.
it.
And let me tell you, bro, it's fucking brilliant. A+ material. So anyway, that's a nice aside about Cabin in the Woods. But whether you're a fan of that stuff or not doesn't matter. This movie stands on its own as an excellent, excellent piece of horror comedy and as like a love letter to the entire genre of horror in one. Yeah, definitely one of my favorite horror movies ever, and also one of my favorite movies ever.
Did you see it when it was in theaters, or did you catch it after the fact?
You know, I think I caught it after the fact. I think I watched it. I think I watched it in like late 2011. At home
Yeah.
on that big projector TV.
I remember that TV. Watched
Yep.
a lot of good movies on that TV.
We certainly did.
Speaking of good movies, I guess I'll bring us home here, and I don't know if this is gonna come, excuse me, as any surprise to anybody who like really knows me, and this will probably not be a surprise to you at all once I say what my number one comfort movie of all time. Just this is my number one comfort movie. Period. Horror, any other genre.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
This is a movie that I will fall asleep to. It doesn't matter what time of day it's on. I will fucking put it on. If it's on TV, I'm watching it. I could have watched the last half of it the day before and then find myself going, you know what? I need to sit down and actually like watch the thing from start to finish like the very next day. Like I've done that, and it's never loses its edge. It's always impactful. It's always so fucking good to me every time I watch it. And it's Jurassic Park.
Oh baby. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's perfect. It's the perfect film.
Yeah, you're damn right it is.
I feel like maybe like people are like, what the fuck? Not Jaws. And the reason it's not Jaws is like there's a lot of things about Jaws that I find very like it's very aesthetically pleasing to me, but like start to finish, Jaws scares me. Like the minute the fucking Universal logo comes up and you just hear the sounds of the ocean, I'm on edge. It's, the reason that
Yeah.
I'm infatuated with Jaws is because it is like the scariest thing, like outside of like apocalypse scenarios. It is the thing that scares me to my core is this giant monster shark eating people. So that aside, that's why Jaws is not a comfort horror movie in the way that Jurassic Park is.
Mm-hmm.
Jurassic Park, I saw when I was like 4 years old, which is kind of amazing given the content, people being eaten by fucking monsters. But you know, my parents let me watch it, and I loved it. It's the probably the most aesthetically pleasing movie to me ever. Like the colors, like fucking Alan Grant's outfit, Ellie Sattler's outfit, like it's just like pure 90s gold. Talk about quoting a movie front to back. It's just so fucking cool. It has the best score of any movie I've ever watched
Ever?
ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yep. Mm-hmm.
there are a couple movies that get close, and they're John Williams movies, but no movie quite transports me. All I have to do is hear the theme to Jurassic Park, and I'm at Jurassic Park. Like I could be in my garage listening to it. I could be on an airplane listening to it, and I'm as soon as I hear that theme, I'm like on the fucking helicopter.
Yeah.
John Hammond sitting next to me, going, "There it is!" Like it's a picture that like transports me to that world every single time, and I don't know. It's just perfect. It's just 10 out of 10 for me, and it's just so comforting. I don't know. How do you feel about Jurassic Park?
Jurassic Park is like, I mean, in a world where like movies are very like varied and there's different kinds of movies and different reasons to watch them and things like that. I mean, I think you could argue that Jurassic Park's the greatest movie ever made. I certainly think you could argue it's the greatest blockbuster movie ever made.
Yeah.
It's like, even of my list, like I've got a long list of perfect movies. You know, I've got a lot of movies that are more or less 10 out of 10 movies for me. But even on that list, like Jurassic Park is very high.
Yeah.
And it's the coalescence of so many things. You have a novelist who was very good at writing sort of the blockbuster movie version of fiction.
Yeah.
And you have an excellent fucking screenwriter working with him. And you have sorry, buddy. My dog is being defiant. You have the greatest filmmaker of all time at the peak of his powers.
Yeah.
And you have the greatest movie composer of all time at the peak of his powers. And you have the most interesting subject matter that anyone could fucking think of at the time.
Yeah.
And you have a perfect moment in history when VFX were moving from one thing to another thing, and they were still afraid of leaning too heavily on bad CGI. So they were very, very, very careful, and they really respected the material and the audience, and they did everything they could to blend practical effects with what we now consider modern VFX. And it all is just it's lightning in a bottle. It's a perfect storm. It's not the kind of thing that you can replicate. You know what I mean? You can try, but it's the kind of movie, like every time a movie producer like gets a movie greenlit, they want to make something like Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
And most people never do it in their whole fucking lives. You know what I mean? It's just a really special thing. And obviously, you know, everything from like the tension, the terror. That movie. Okay, so I saw that movie in theaters. I've talked about this, and it was basically a really religious experience for me. The way that I love movies probably has a lot to do with being a little boy sitting in a movie theater and watching Jurassic Park. It changed me. It was a spiritual experience. It was a religious experience. It was like, oh, okay, the universe is now different. I have different priorities now.
Yeah.
Because of this movie. And like those velociraptors scared the hell out of me. And that Tyrannosaurus Rex scared the hell out of me. It was one of the scariest things I'd ever seen. And I was not a super tough little boy. Like I was real scared, and I would have watched the movie again right away if you had put it back on.
Yeah.
Despite how terrifying it was, because it was fucking riveting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love Jurassic Park.
Dude, like you took all the words out of my mouth. Like same thing. I remember like when I was little, our bed was twice, like before my sister was born, I had a bed that was like next to two windows,
Mhm.
and I was always afraid that T-Rex was gonna put his head right in front of my window.
That's right.
I thought about that every night before going to bed. And then
He's
when
coming
my
to get
sister
you.
was born, and I was, bunking with my brother in the room next door, there's like another window, and I was still always expecting that T-Rex to pop his head down.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, man, I agree. It is. I've talked to you about this before. Specifically, I do think Jaws is my favorite movie of all time.
Hmm.
Jurassic Park is my very, very close second. Um,
Hmm.
and I think Jurassic Park is the epitome of filmmaking. Like, I think
Yeah.
it is the best movie ever made.
Yeah.
Um, for what movies
For what it is.
for what we go to the movies for, which
Yeah.
is
Hmm.
a fun time.
Yeah.
It checks all the boxes. It does everything that, like I said, it's like you said, it's Spielberg at his Spielbergianness,
Hmm.
and that's where filmmaking peaks.
Yep.
There are plenty of highs on the way down, and there are plenty of highs on the way up, but like it's here, and so far nothing has been as good
Able to eclipse that. Yeah.
in that, like, this is why we go to the movies.
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah, that's Jurassic Park. So that's the one for me. I'm glad that you feel uh, at least very similar
No,
in
I do.
regards to how special that is. So
No, I 100%. Yeah.
beautiful. Did you have any honorable mentions you wanted to throw out there?
Yeah. Um, the aforementioned The Birds.
Birds.
Yeah, I don't know. I really like that movie. I think it might be comforting to me though because I liked it a lot as a kid.
You,
Like,
you just like birds.
no, I just like that movie. I don't have any interest in bird watching, but for some reason I liked it a lot as a kid, and I still like that movie a lot. I think it's a masterwork. It's like
Yeah,
I think of Jaws very much as like a spiritual successor to The Birds.
I can see that.
Um, yeah.
I can definitely.
So yeah, I really love The Birds. The Exorcist, which I know is like it is like a challenging movie, but for me that's a comfort movie. Jaws is a comfort movie. Um, Alien, um, The Thing. Uh,
All movies that I find absolutely horrifying.
right, right. But I mean, I like when I like horrifying movies can be comforting to me
Yeah.
when
No,
that's what I'm
hey,
after.
I mean my honorable mentions are like I said, Evil Dead, and
Uh-huh.
the one that I had on my list but I replaced with Scream was Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh,
So
okay. Okay.
which a lot of people consider that to be like a lot of lists. People have Texas Chainsaw Massacre as like the scariest movie of all time, and I'm like,
Hmm.
it's pretty fucking wild. But I don't know, like I do,
It's definitely very scary in a very like oppressive way.
yeah.
For me, that's in every way like the opposite of a comfort movie. That's like if I was looking for a reason to to jump off of a bridge, I'd watch that movie.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, humanity is the worst.
Right.
It's kind of a weird thing that it kind of like solidified itself as a comfort horror movie. I ended up getting like really, really sick, and I had to call out of work, uh, which I never do. Turns out I didn't know it at the time, but turned out I had COVID.
Right.
Uh,
Beautiful.
I was just so like I couldn't even fucking stand. I was so
Hmm.
so sick, and so I was essentially bedridden for the day, and um think there was a time in my life where I could sit down and just watch movies all day and not have a problem with it. I do not feel that way now. I
I
always,
miss that.
yeah, I
I
very
think
much,
about that.
I miss that period of my life. At least the acceptance that, or the idea that that was okay.
Yeah.
I could do that now if I like. I can do it now. There's no real reason I can't, except
Right.
never ending drive of like I have to be productive, like I have to work out, I have to do chores, I have to write, I have to film, I have to edit, like
Yeah.
all of those things.
The
So
drive of being an adult.
yeah,
Yeah.
I have to be a parent, you know.
Right.
Uh but that specific day, like there was there was nothing that I could do. I had to lay in bed all day. So I watched a bunch of horror related content, some new stuff, some old stuff. But the first movie I put on when I was like, all right, cool, I'm home for the day, was Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And it brought comfort to me because I was feeling like shit. And I just watched this absolute mania of insanity play out on screen. I mean, I had already seen the movie before, but it was like, oh, well, I feel terrible, but Sally Sally's getting it worse than I am right now. So,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
that yeah. Anyways, it's weird how like certain things can just hit you different in a different, you know, vibe, a different point in your life. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Uh, I I don't love that movie. I um I respect the craft on hand
Yeah.
and the performances, but yeah, that is not a Kalen favorite in the realm of horror.
It is. Those Chainsaw movies are. I really like the remake. I know a lot of like horror purists
Mm-hmm.
uh, consider that a crime, but
Yeah.
the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake is the very first through and through horror movie I ever saw,
Right. 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 That's right. I remember
and
that.
it still is very disturbing to me. As is the original, but it's just a different kind of disturbing. But yeah, uh, like I said, that's the thing about comfort horror, baby. To each their own.
Each their own. Yeah.
Um, well, uh, that was fun, man. That was I really enjoyed being able to do this. This is kind of something that I've been wanting to wanting to try out. So, um, yeah, I'll probably uh, end up doing another one of these, probably with a different person on the other side, because otherwise we'd just be rehashing the same bullshit. But
Yeah.
any movies on the up and coming that you are excited for, horror and or otherwise?
Not not like super excited for right now, to be totally honest with you. Um the the Iron Claw is the only one like coming up soon that I'm really pretty pumped about.
Oh yeah, that looks
Um
good.
huh?
I said that looks good.
Yeah, yeah, it does. It looks good. Um I'm excited for Rebel Moon. Um I don't know if it's actually going to be good or not, but it looks fun.
Zack Snyder, could go either way.
Right.
I
But
had
but it could be fun.
a lot of high hopes for Army of the Dead, and that movie was just not nearly as much fun as it looked.
Right. Well, that's kind of the thing about going into his movies is I know that I don't know what I know to expect the unexpected, right? Like I don't know what's going to happen,
Yeah,
but the trailer looked good
yeah.
and it
Uh,
looks like fun. So I'm just hoping, for it to be a fun movie. I'm not like super pumped. I don't think it'll be my favorite movie of the year or anything, but
yeah. Hey, go in with low expectations, and you know what? You could be pleasantly surprised. I
that's
had
right.
a, I had a couple of movies like that this year. One of them that I feel like we can touch on this a little bit. wasn't like I was pleasantly surprised, but I went in with super low expectations, and I feel like I was significantly less disappointed than everybody else, which was the Exorcist movie.
Oh, I liked it.
I think it was a fine movie.
Mhm.
Like, I don't think it's deserving of whatever like 20% on Rotten Tomatoes it has.
No,
Like
no,
fucking
no, no,
insanity
no,
to
no,
me. I'm
no.
like, yeah, it's not The Exorcist,
Right, but
but
nothing
it's
is.
certainly not a it's not a bad movie. It's a very well crafted film and a well told story with fine performances in it, you know?
You said this, and I think you nailed it. You said if The Exorcist, what is it called? The Believer?
Yeah.
You said if The Exorcist, The Believer did not have the Exorcist IP and had been produced by A24, it would have a significantly higher critical rating.
Yeah.
And I think you're on the fucking money. I think it would have been a 75% RT score type of movie if it had just been called, you know, The Exorcism of Two Girls in a Small Town.
Yeah.
And it was by A24 and David Gordon Green with the new movie
Yeah.
non-IP. I think it would have gotten pretty well reviewed, because it just is not, it's just not a bad movie. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know, like I don't.
I mean,
Yeah,
I said this in my review, which was like the the only thing that I rolled my eyes over in the entire film was the Exorcist related content. I'm like,
yeah,
dude, take that out.
right.
You have a perfectly good film there that's
Right.
interesting
Yeah, you got a good little flick here.
with a gut punch ending. Like
Mhm.
the stuff that the Chris McNeil stuff does nothing.
Right.
It does nothing for the story getting from point A to point B. It does not need to be there. And it's like, guys, if you were gonna do this, you really needed to do it and make it tie in together better.
Yeah.
But anyways, I digress. That's just, my I think people hated on that movie way too much, and I was like,
No,
God,
it's true.
like,
People,
why did you like have any expectations that it was gonna be good? Just think it's
right,
gonna be shit, and
right.
you'd be a lot better off.
Yeah. I think it was one of those situations where people made up their mind to dislike it. Groupthink, herd mentality. Yeah.
Well,
On the slightly further horizon, I am constantly thinking about and obsessed with Robert Eggers' Nosferatu
yeah,
and Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. Those are on my mind a lot.
yeah. That I think you mentioned both of those last time you were on.
Oh, did I? I'm
Yeah.
repeating myself now.
No. I repeat the question because I feel like that's my question that I ask everyone who I have on. But at this stage in the game, you're on more than anybody else. So,
Right. Right. Well, there's nothing super interesting coming up soon, you know.
I think I told you this probably before. We have that Thanksgiving slasher, and I think we're
Mhm.
having like honestly, I think we're in kind of like a slasher renaissance right now. Like maybe the early um, makings of one because the Scream franchise has been
Oh
uh,
yeah.
popping,
Yeah, it's hot.
uh, and you have Terrifier, and Terrifier's like a big deal, and the fucking third one coming out next year, and it's at Christmas time. I am just so fucking excited for that. You have this Thanksgiving movie that as of right now it has pretty decent Rotten Tomatoes ratings, so
Okay.
that's pretty exciting at a time like like Terrifier 2 has something insane, like 80 or 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. You're like, what are you talking about? Like critics like this movie? Like, what are we talking about?
Mhm.
This would have been like talked shit about by like Siskel and Ebert back in the 80s. Like,
Better believe it. Yeah.
um, so I do feel like we're having this little bit of slasher renaissance, which is exciting because I was really trying to like one of my buddies that I have on here, Albert, like his favorite like genre of horror is subgenre of horror is like monster movies, and he said like he doesn't really get into slashers too much, and I was kind of like taken aback. I was like, well, I like watch all horror. Like there's no like, oh, I don't dick around with that subgenre. I watch it all, but
I'm sorry that my dog is debuting right now.
all right, I'm actually kind of surprised my kid hasn't made an appearance. Um, um, but like I was really thinking about it. I was like, dude, I think like slasher movies are like some of my favorites. I just have so much fun with them, good or bad. They're last. So pretty excited about that. We'll see how this Thanksgiving movie turns out. Like I said, this episode will be premiering after I've already reviewed it, so we're
there you go,
doing a little bit of
the audience already knows
here. Anywho, well, thank you so much, Kalen, for helping me out on this episode.
Always,
my co-host. And are you working on any writing these days? Anything in the works, or are you just kind of
got a little something going on?
Yeah.
That's
good. Happy to hear that. Well, for now, it's gonna be Christmas time by the time this episode drops. So
yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, happy holidays, and
have a good holiday season.
We will be seeing you motherfuckers on the flip side. Adios, muchachos.
Peace.